You know, for so many couples, unexplained infertility is one of the most confusing and just frustrating things you can hear from a doctor. It sounds like a dead end, right? A mystery with no clues. But what if that diagnosis isn't really an answer at all? Okay, let's dive into this, because there's a completely different way to think about this challenge.
So, we're kicking things off with a pretty provocative statement from fertility acupuncturist Cassandra Nelson. Whoa! She's essentially saying the diagnosis itself is the problem. Now, the idea here isn't to bash conventional medicine at all, but to challenge that word, unexplained. It suggests that the answers might actually be hiding in plain sight, if you just know where to look.
Before we get into that alternative viewpoint, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. This diagnosis, it carries such a heavy emotional weight because it can leave you feeling totally lost with no clear path forward. So what does it actually mean from a clinical standpoint?
Well, here's the textbook definition. It's basically a diagnosis of exclusion, meaning you've done all the standard tests, hormone levels, checking the fallopian tubes, sperm parameters, and they all come back looking normal. And yet, nothing's happening. It's kind of the medical equivalent of a shoulder shrug, which for so many people is deeply, deeply unsatisfying. And get this is not some rare thing. We're talking about 15 to 30% of couples who are seeking fertility care walking away with this unexplained label. I mean, think about that. That is a huge number of people left without clear answers, often getting pushed toward major interventions without ever understanding the root cause of the problem.
So, if the conventional path leads to a big question mark, where else can you look? Well, this brings us to a framework that's been around for literally thousands of years, traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, and it approaches the body with a fundamentally different set of questions.
And this right here, this is the whole mindset shift in a nutshell. From a TCM perspective, there's always a reason. There's always an underlying pattern of imbalance. The problem isn't that there's no cause. It's just that the standard diagnostic tools we're using might not be designed to see it.
This really leads us to the core tension in this whole conversation. It really boils down to two completely different ways of thinking about the body and how to help it. Do you just work around the problem, or do you work to solve it at its source?
This chart just lays it out so clearly. The conventional approach often uses medication to bypass whatever the issue might be, like using drugs to force ovulation. TCM, on the other hand, wants to understand why the body isn't doing that smoothly on its own, and then work to remove those obstacles. It's less about forcing a specific outcome, and way more about improving the body's overall function so that pregnancy can just happen naturally.
Cassandra Nelson just nails it here. And look, this isn't about one approach being good and the other being bad, not at all. It's just about understanding their very different goals. One is looking for a workaround, the other is looking for a resolution. The whole idea is that once you remove the obstacles, the body can finally do what it's naturally designed to do.
Okay, so if TCM is looking for these missed root causes, what in the world are they? This is where the philosophy gets really practical. It's about shifting the focus from just one single event, conception, to the entire ecosystem of the body. I absolutely love this quote because it gets right to the heart of it. The goal isn't just about nailing the timing for conception, it's about building a healthy, resilient, and calm internal environment. It's like, instead of just trying to plant a seed in dry, hard soil, you focus on making the soil rich and fertile first. You're creating a foundation where life just naturally wants to take root.
So here's the kind of stuff they're actually looking at. TCM practitioners see the body as this totally interconnected system. They're not just interested in if you have a menstrual cycle, they want to know about the quality of it. They're asking about your sleep, your digestion, your stress levels. Things that conventional medicine might see as totally separate issues are seen as vital clues to your reproductive health.
And because that assessment is so incredibly detailed, the treatment becomes hyper-personalized. You could have two women, both with the exact same unexplained infertility diagnosis, walk out with completely different acupuncture plans or herbal formulas. Why? Because their underlying root causes, their patterns, are different. It is the complete opposite of a one-size-fits-all approach.
So, what does this all mean for someone who's been handed this really frustrating diagnosis? Well, the biggest takeaway might not be clinical at all. It's actually about a huge shift in perspective. And this is the ultimate message. For anyone out there who has felt like they've just hit a solid brick wall, the simple idea that there are still other avenues to explore, that your story isn't over, well, that can be incredibly powerful. It reframes the entire journey from one of despair to one of real possibility. So really, the key takeaway is this.
An unexplained diagnosis does not have to mean your body is failing you in some mysterious, broken way. It might simply mean that the right questions haven't been asked yet. And that perspective, it gives you back a sense of agency, a sense of possibility in your own story.
So we'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. Maybe the most empowering thing you can do with a diagnosis like this is to decide it's not a final word. Maybe it's not an answer at all, but the starting point for a much deeper, much more interesting conversation with your own body.
I stopped trying to find a doctor who would listen, and I did this instead. For years, I was doing everything right. Eating clean, exercising, getting 8 hours of sleep, but I was still exhausted. I had constant brain fog, and my hormones felt completely out of whack. Every doctor told me my labs were normal, and it was probably just stress. I was about to give up until I found Holistic Health. It's a free AI wellness tool trained by functional medicine experts. I spent 5 minutes answering questions about everything: my symptoms, my sleep, my digestion, and it built me this. And this was the light bulb moment. It didn't just give me a list of problems, it connected the dots. It showed me how my gut health was likely impacting my hormones and how that was causing the fatigue and the brain fog. It even gave me a clear list of potential root causes, supplements to research, and even the specific lab tests to ask for. Its tip is secure. Over 77,000 people have used it, and it's 100% free to get your blueprint. If you feel like you're not being heard, start here. Understand your body first and then decide your next step.